Hello and welcome to the incredibly influential and highly successful podcast. My name is Kale. I'm incredibly influential.
And my name's Danny, and I'm highly successful.
Today is whatever Friday, January 3rd. That's what day it is. It's a Friday. We're here on Friday night instead of going out and being cool. Yeah, isn't that awesome, Danny? Isn't that great? Isn't that wonderful?
Yep.
Welcome to
Today is pretty good. What'd you do today?
uh mostly just work on some various YouTube videos that I'm working on.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. Just a couple. One that's kind of just like a passion project of mine. Um, it's I don't want to reveal too much, but it involves Black Ops 2, and like, cause that game is set this year, so it's
Oh
kind
cool.
of based on that. Yeah.
I love whenever games are set just a little bit in the future, and then you can
Mm-hmm.
kind of look back and see like kind of what exactly the state of the
Mm-hmm.
world is versus like what they kind of predicted it would be. I think my favorite example of that is kind of like I was talking to my brother earlier about like Back to the Future, and how
Mm-hmm.
Back to the Future set around like the early 2000s, right?
Yes.
And how they kind of like overestimated like everything.
Yeah. Black Ops 2 kind of did that. It's interesting. So somebody released a video kind of similar to what I'm doing, going over the like how realistic is it? How realistic is like the campaign? Um and I mean it differs in a few key ways, but it's still kind of um you know, it's the same and different in a lot of key ways. So it's kind of interesting to see like where it's different. But I was looking at a specific aspect of it. Um, so I mean, I guess you'll see. Um, I'm gonna break it into two parts, but yeah, I've just been working on that today. I got most of the footage I need today. I don't think I need any more footage. I just need what do I need to do with this? I don't know. I'll look into it. I'll see what I have to do. But yeah, most of the gameplay footage is done, so I don't have to do anything else from there. I just have to do I have to do a little bit of recording. I have to record the audio. I have to do a little bit more scripts. But then yeah, and then I'm working on a challenge video. Um, I'm gonna keep it real with you. The last challenge video I put out kind of underperformed, and I'm a little bit fucking salty about that. All the videos I worked on in December that I like really worked hard on with the editing underperformed as fuck. So I'm like, why do I even bother? Honestly, like,
I think that with the type of content you're doing, you just gotta kind of find the audience for it. I feel like that's the difficult part. If you're not like following trends, right? Is just trying to get that audience in the first place.
yeah, I guess I make things that are too different, but like, I don't know. I don't know. I've thought about starting a third channel because I already have the channel for K Thugston Reads. So like, I've thought about starting a third channel um for and like moving all my let's plays over there. Um but I don't know. What do you think?
Um, yeah, if you're really wanting to like make it big or whatever, you really gotta just do a lot of research on into like what's working, what's not working, kind of maybe take some advice from people who've kind of already gone through it. If I know you've talked to a couple different content creators, you can kind of see what
Yeah.
worked for them, what didn't. But it is hard whenever you want to kind of strike out and do your own thing because it's a little bit more risky.
Yeah. I don't know. I will say it's a lot faster if I edit things. I work a lot faster than fucking um my old editor did. Jesus Christ. Jesus fucking Christ. I would give him things and they wouldn't be done months later. and like I can have most of it done in a day. But like still, that's a whole day down the shitter. Uh fucking I'm not going to be able to sustain that honestly, just with how busy I'm going to be this semester. I probably won't be that busy, so I'm trying to get
Well, I think like how often are you trying to upload is the problem, is the thing, right?
I mean, I want to a lot of these things are kind of like I have to make sure I have all the or I take advantage of having the ideas before somebody else comes up with them, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like trying to get it done relatively quick, but I have to fucking like you get what I mean, right? You know, it's cuz there's a set amount of like there's not an infinite amount of ideas of like can you beat blank game with blank stipulation. I've already got some pretty obscure ones. Uh, you know, uh,
Yeah.
and
Uh,
it's I feel like the one that I'm working on right now is way too cerebral. You know?
yeah, I feel like whenever the challenge gets a little overly complicated or a little bit too specific, it does kind of it's a little bit harder to kind of like market that.
Yeah, I've had to throw out a couple.
there there's a couple that I feel like are like very easy concepts to grab onto. Like the Borderlands one that we did where it's like no ammo. That's very easy for you to look at that and be like, "Okay, I understand what it is." Versus as a mad scientist. Like that one I feel like if you explain it in the beginning, maybe, but at the same time, just looking at the thumbnail, looking at the title, people don't grab onto it as easily. You know what I mean?
I think I like the thumbnail a lot. I feel like it's very interesting, and I would
Well,
have been
that's just like an example, though. I'm sure there's
yeah.
other ones that you've done that are kind of similar in a way, though, right?
That's my I would say that like that would have piqued my interest and like gotten me to like
No,
click on
like
it, right?
that's definitely like not the worst one. I'm sure there is like a worse one
Yeah,
than
there's been a
that,
few.
where it's like the concept is a little weak, uh, or again, it's too niche.
Yeah. Um
But for me, like I know I've talked to you about wanting to do content for a long time and kind of like going back and forth on the reasons why I haven't.
mhm.
For me, I really enjoy watching those type of videos like every now and then, like the challenge videos, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Uh, but I will admit, like a lot of the challenges don't really pique my interest as much unless I can kind of just from the title or just from the thumbnail kind of like have an
Mhm.
idea of what it is, right? Like for me, I've been watching a lot of like Elden Ring challenges
Mhm.
where it's like Elden Ring, but I only use this shield, or it's like Elden Ring, but there's a randomizer, like it's a mod, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think modded content is really interesting and really fun if you can find games to mod. I know that a lot of like Fallout, Skyrim have tons of mods that you probably could play with and do something fun with those.
Yeah. I need to figure out how to fucking mod my game just to get it to run cuz it's kind of fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, because if you're playing Fallout, you're playing Skyrim, I feel like those are the perfect games where you can introduce a mod and it could be real interesting.
Yeah, I mean, well Fallout 4 has the mod thing. Has the mod
Well, Skyrim does too. Fallout 4 and
and yeah,
Skyrim
and
do.
Skyrim does too. Yeah,
The older Fallout games, I'm not
yeah, yeah.
100% sure about, but I know
You
that
have to
Fallout
actually go into
4,
the Nexus on those.
yeah. But and I think another thing that I like a lot whenever I watch videos is whenever they combine like in-game challenges with like IRL like real challenges, right? Like for example, every time I die, I'll drink hot sauce or something like that, right? Then it becomes like a in-person challenge and an in-game challenge, you know?
That is true. I'd have to buy a fucking webcam for that.
Uh,
But
maybe a webcam might not be a bad investment though. I feel like that it could give you a lot more ideas for things to do because you could have like in-person challenges like that. You could have like maybe incentives like, oh, like if I don't beat this game within a certain amount of time, I'll wear a costume. Or you can do collaborations where you're like, okay, I'll race this person, and then you'll have some sort of stakes on the line. Like, oh, I'll do a costume, or they'll choose what game I play next video, or
yeah, I think
things
that's
like that.
fair.
Because those type of videos I like a lot. Like I've watched tons of those videos where they wear a costume, where they play a game. or they do like a Fortnite dance if they lose. Like there's there's
Yeah,
so, there's so many like fun ideas if you do collaborations.
Senza did an ankle reveal.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's a
and
funny one.
Senza's ankle reveal. Mitten Squad, rest in peace, of course. He did "Can you beat Fallout 3 with your eyes?" and he did it in a maid outfit, and that is certainly commitment. Something.
Have you watched Doug Doug?
I You've recommended him to me before, but fucking
I love watching Doug Doug's videos. His whole like style of content is coming up with absurd challenges or using his audience as part of the challenge or using AI as part of the challenge. He's a coder though, so he kind of makes his own like
yeah,
custom
like
mods
mods. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
for things, which obviously is a little hard to do if you don't know how to program, but there's definitely some ideas that he's come up with that I feel like you can kind of get inspiration from
Yeah.
or like and not just Doug Doug. Doug Doug is just like the one that comes to mind because I feel like he does it so well and he's such a good personality for it.
Mm. Yeah, I
But
think
yeah,
it's a lot of work on that.
you gotta kind of just see what's working for lots of different people. Like I said, I watch a lot of Elden Ring and Souls like challenges, randomizers. I watch
Hmm.
Doug Doug. I watch several different people. Uh, I if I did content, I think I don't know if I would have like a certain genre of content. I feel like I'm so kind of my mood and what I want to do changes so often that my
Yeah,
channel would
and
just be like a hodgepodge of like everything.
that's the bitch of it though, is that it's fucking there's so many like it changes so much. It changes so much. You'll be like, hey, fucking here, here's the thing that I want to do, right? Here's the thing, and you'll get an audience from that. You'll get an audience from that, and then it like you'll change your mind. You want to play something else, and the people who came to you for the original one fucking don't want to stay for that, and that's super annoying. So it's really frustrating to have certain like tastes and like be you have to kind of hit yourself to a certain pole, right? And if you don't hit yourself to a certain pole,
Well,
or
I
if you
do
don't,
think there's a world, right,
mm-hmm,
where if you have a decent personality and you become like a person that people like to watch, you have more freedom in what you do because they're more there for the person than they are for the
and that is
content.
true.
Like for Markiplier, for example, Markiplier is one of the biggest faces on the platform. He can upload anything he wants.
Yeah.
And nobody really cares what he uploads. He'll do a candy review one day. He'll play games this other day. He'll do a random quiz. He'll do a tier list. He'll do this. He'll do that. No
Mm-hmm.
matter what he does, people are gonna watch it, right? And I feel like that's the ideal is if you can
Mm-hmm.
find that kind of situation where you just become somebody likes to listen to or somebody likes to like watch just because you're funny or you're entertaining or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
right?
But that's
Then you
so rare.
it is, but again, it really just depends on what you want to go for in your content, your channel. Because
Mm-hmm.
for me, I know I would switch. I would be like, I want to do IRL content one day. I want to do video games. I want to do a challenge. I want to do a completion. I want to do a let's play. Like
Yeah,
all
and
those different things.
it's hard to fucking get that, like, to build the audience of people who would watch you doing, like, watch you watching paint dry is fucking really hard. Oh man. Man. I don't know. I would love to just have the freedom to do whatever, but I feel like I have to either hitch myself to a certain post or create another channel and build up a separate audience on that one, you know?
Well, I don't know how many channels you have right now, but I definitely think that what I've seen people do, uh, that are streamers specifically, right? Like people that do streams for content.
Mhm.
I don't know if you ever record content outside of streams, or is this mostly just streamed to YouTube, like cut down?
I have been recording. This next challenge is technically, the way I'm recording it violates TOS. Um Twitch TOS. So
Interesting. Curious.
it's not that interesting.
Okay, well, can I know how it violates TOS, or is that a spoiler?
Emulation.
I don't think that that's something that they really crack down on too much on Twitch, but maybe.
No, but I don't. I want to cross my I's and dot my T's. You know.
I suppose. I feel like that's more the specific game developers that would get mad at that than Twitch itself.
Yeah, but Nintendo can go fuck themselves. They haven't put out a good Pokemon game since 2018. Was that
Well,
was that Oris? No.
you mean Arceus?
No. Oris, Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. No, that was
Oh,
2016.
um,
Um,
yeah, I don't follow Pokemon like at all.
Honestly, I think you missed out as a
I
kid.
just like I just like them remastering the first 151, and I'm good. That's why I played Let's Go, because Let's Go was just the first 151, which I was like, I know this, I got this in the bag.
I I'm gonna keep it real with you. I think it's good that we've moved past Generation One. I think Generation One, even though they've remastered it so many times, they've done uh depending on how you want to call it, I would say they've remastered uh Gen 1 about 3 times. And you could say that like when they revisited it in, well, spoilers, but when they revisit it in Gen 2 and Gen 4, um that's sort of a remastering of the region as well. But like I think Kanto is by far the weakest region. I think it is very boring.
I think that
Um
it definitely is like nostalgia is a big part of it. And
oh,
it's also
it's
because
100% of it's 100% nostalgia. 100%.
I wouldn't say
Yeah.
100%, but I would say like 99% for sure, nostalgia, right? Like for me, I never was a big fan of JRPGs in general. I always prefer uh games that are a little bit more mechanically challenging instead of like
Mhm.
turn-based or strategy. Like I've tried to get into turn-based games, but it's just for me it's just so boring, you know?
Yeah, personally,
And it's so slow.
if I had to say what the best RPGs were, I would say it's probably CRPGs.
What is CRPG?
Canadian. God damn it, my dog's scratching at the door. Um, but Dragon Age, Mass Effect, Knights of the Old Republic, I think Baldur's Gate technically counts as CRPG. Maybe like the original.
Yeah,
Baldur.
but Baldur's Gate 3 at least, the one I played, is also turn-based, and I just don't like turn-based combat like in anything. I just feel like it's too slow, it's too boring.
Okay,
And
when I
as
say
some
CRPG, technically it's computer. It's not Canadian. It's not specifically Canadian.
Yeah, because I
But
was like that sounded way too specific, but I was like, I guess, you know.
BioWare has done a lot of them. BioWare's done a lot of them. They
Yeah,
did yeah, Baldur's Gate, Neverwinter Nights, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, Mass Effect, Dragon Age, fucking awesome, amazing fucking games. But hang on, let me let the dog out, and you can say shit.
okay. Well, kind of getting on to like RPGs and stuff. The reason why I'm not a big fan of JRPGs, uh, most of the time they do feel very repetitive, very boring, very slow. There have been a few JRPGs that I've played though. I think there was one. It was like a guitar game that kind of
What?
like what it did is it wasn't like a guitar game, but it had like rhythm. It had rhythm game like aspects to it, right? Where it was like turn based to an extent, but it also had like rhythm game sections in between to like determine how good your attack is. Or like for example, like think of like Undertale. You know how in Undertale there's the attack option, but once you attack, a little sliding bar comes out, and you have to hit it in
Mm-hmm.
the middle. Like little
Mm-hmm.
things like that, I feel like make it a tiny bit more skill based and not just like, oh, am I clicking the right buttons in the right order? Because that's what Pokemon is. It's like, oh, I gotta choose this attack. I gotta switch out this person. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. And
It is kind of like that. I will.
it's all strategy. And I prefer whenever there's like again a mechanical aspect to it, where it's like okay, I'll click attack, but now I gotta do like this little guitar hero riff in order to make sure my attack lands max damage. Or okay, the enemy's gonna hit me, but if I click the dodge button at this perfect time, I can dodge his attack. You
I
know,
think what you're telling me is you want to play Paper Mario.
I've never been a fan of Nintendo games just because they're on Nintendo consoles and I don't want to buy a Nintendo console.
That's true. Well, how did you play Pokemon Let's Go?
uh it was the Switch that I shared with Jennifer. It was mostly her Switch. I bought it
Hmm.
for her. She used it, but I was like, I want to play Let's Go Eevee, so I borrowed it from her just to play Let's Go Eevee.
Yeah. 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 So
If there was a way I could play Nintendo games without having to buy the whole console for it,
yeah, it's called emulation.
uh not necessarily, but
GameCube emulator. GameCube had.
First,
So
first of all, the Switch is a very, very old gen console. It's the oldest gen console that is still around for some reason.
that's true. That is true.
It
It's
has
because Nintendo can't fucking
terrible,
do anything.
it has terrible graphics on every game.
Yep.
Art style, they've kept it simplistic and they kept it boring and they kept it the same
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
forever.
Mm-hmm.
Very little things have ever changed,
Yep.
and the games are not made to be challenging for the most part. That's why all Nintendo games, if you watch YouTube videos of them, have self-imposed challenges because the game doesn't impose any challenge.
Yeah, they
You
make
always
them for kids.
it's Pokemon Nuzlocke, where it's like special challenges to make Pokemon more difficult, or it's like Zelda, but I'm gonna do this random thing or that random thing, right? And it's
Yeah,
like,
our
okay,
friend Satchel does a lot of Ocarina of Time randomizer.
the only game that I have seen that they've come out with that has been, I think, remotely interesting is Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom because those are like open world. I do know that those kind of do scale in difficulty a little bit because it has like the different areas that are designed for different difficulties. That's the only game that I've ever seen Nintendo release, at least to my knowledge, right? That
Hmm.
feels like an actual game that's not just built for children. I get that, you want your games to be like, like able to be played by children and them enjoy it. But think that there needs to be like some sort of harder difficulty for sometimes for some of the games, or there needs to be some sort of like extra challenge. Most of the
Yeah,
time, you can 100% those games, and you don't really need to ever be good at it. That's why, like, if you look at Mario Maker, for example, Mario Maker shows like the extent of what Mario could be if they actually turned up the
yeah.
difficulty.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, right, Mario Maker is just like Mario Maker is a fuck ton of like people making their own shit, right? Like you're gonna be getting super easy shit and super difficult shit. You're just gonna be getting a lot of shit, right? Uh, good, bad, in between with Mario Maker, right? But I would say um what is it? Super Mario Odyssey is one of the better like
You know
Mario
what?
platformers.
I did forget about our Odyssey. So Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom are the three games I think the Nintendo has released that really stood out as being different, unique, challenging, like more fun. Like those are the three games that if I had a Switch, I would probably play. But besides those three games, over however many years it's been since those games have come out, there's no other games that really feel unique or different or
I don't
challenging
know.
enough to really, I don't know, have any interest for me, at least.
I don't know. There's a lot of I mean, there's a
It's
lot of Nintendo Switch games. There
there
is
is, but like how many of Nintendo Switch games that like Nintendo made that are like of that
that's true.
caliber, you know?
I mean,
Because
well,
like
how
there's
many
lots of
did
indie
Nintendo
games.
make or are they publishing? Cuz you got to look at like
Well,
are they
I'm talking about like Nintendo franchises, right? Because there's tons of indie developers and developers that put games on Switch, and that's fine. Like I can play Hollow Knight on Switch, I can play Hollow Knight on Xbox, I can do whatever, right? For Hollow Knight, same thing with
Mhm.
like games like Celeste, but games that are only on Switch, like that would make me buy a Switch. The only things that I can think of are Odyssey, Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild. At least
Yeah,
the ones that I know of, at least. There might be more out there. Like there's Smash, but that's not really exactly the same. That's more of a multiplayer thing.
yeah, and I would say Smash is kind of, I don't know. There's issues with Smash. Um, but yeah, I mean, I do kind of agree. I do kind of agree. There's a lot of games that come out on the Switch that are for casual gamers. Nintendo has alienated their like pro audience, and they've gone full in on the casual gamer. And there's just been a marked decrease in quality since for the past few years. It's been declining. Pokemon went down the shitter. Um, the Paper Mario games went down the shitter. The Super Mario Bros. Wonder was terrible. Um, fucking uh uh the new Zelda, the Echoes of Wisdom sucks ass.
Well,
Uh,
like I've seen videos of a whole bunch of like those sort of games, right? And they all
mm-hmm,
feel like very similar to previous games in those lines, and
mm-hmm,
they don't really change up that much, and they don't really seem to have like a lot of depth to them. They're like, okay, you beat them once, they weren't very hard, you never go back to them again. There's like no real reason to ever play it again.
yeah,
Whereas like with like the other three games that I just said, Tears of the Kingdom, uh, Breath of the Wild, Odyssey, those games, from what I've seen, has a lot of player expression, which I think makes it very nice to have replay value, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Because
exactly.
I've seen people play Mario Odyssey and they learn all the special trick jumps and like the character expression. They can learn to do like skips in certain areas.
It's very good for speedrunners, and it doesn't alienate casual players either. That's a lot of Nintendo's library used to appeal to both, and now it doesn't.
That's what I'm
Um,
saying, right? Like I don't like I get there's casual gamers that don't want that challenge, but
mm-hmm,
I've always been somebody who really wants that extra level of depth, that extra level of challenge.
uh huh,
And most games don't offer that to me, And that's fine if they can make it up in other areas, but most of the time they really can't. Because gameplay is like 90%, right?
yeah, and I mean a lot of the stories are kind of really, really, really weak. Nintendo games generally do not have very good stories. The they're, the JRPGs are almost always a bunch of teenagers use the power of friendship to kill God, to quote uh, Yahtzee Croshaw.
Yeah.
Um, and like Pokemon is barely different. It's one teenager or one preteen uses the power of friendship and dogfighting to kill God or capture God or whatever the
Ye-
fuck, you
Yeah.
know?
And like Pokemon, it does scale in difficulty to an extent, but it's still designed to be pretty easy. The
Yeah.
only challenge you get from Pokemon is self-imposed challenges or PvP.
Hmm.
I've never done PvP, and again, I don't like turn-based things, so Pokemon really isn't my franchise in general.
Yeah, you wouldn't like Magic, you wouldn't like Hearthstone.
I've tried to play games like Slay the Spire, if you know Slay the Spire, right? Where it's like
Uh-huh.
turn-based single player CPU challenge, and it's turned up to a very high difficulty, especially
Hmm.
the later parts of the game. And like those games are fun, but they get boring after a while. And I feel like that's kind of the same thing I feel with Pokemon, where it's like I can do it for a little bit, but after a while, I'm like, I kind of don't want to be.
Yeah, I will say what sucks is of all the games that Nintendo put out, this is the Nintendo wiki that I'm looking at right now on fandom. The of all the games that they put out last year, the best game, it was Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, so it was a remaster, or it was a port slash remaster. Um Mario and Luigi RPG Brothership, which was not very good. Um Mario versus Donkey Kong, which is kind of it's a remaster of the or it's a remake of the 2004 GBA game, a remake of an NES game, a remake of Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, which is from the GameCube era, which is fucking awesome. There's
Mm-hmm.
Princess Peach Showtime, which I heard was bad. Um,
Hmm.
Super Mario Party Jamboree. Uh, so it's more Mario Party. It's just another fucking Mario Party, and then Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. Um, and the best game out of all of those was Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, and it was a fucking remake, right? It was a
Hmm.
fucking port slash remake, right? It is fucking awesome. Thousand Year Door is amazing. Um, and they haven't. I would say a lot of studios have failed to live up to what they were doing in the PS2 era or the GameCube era.
Well, there are still games coming out that I feel like are very unique, that are very good. Maybe they're not always very original because it's really hard to be original nowadays with so many different genres and so many different people already kind of having done the ideas before.
But AAA is not doing it. AAA has no original ideas anymore.
There have been a few AAA games in the last couple years. I'm trying to think in 2024, is there any games that really stood out to you, like that you can remember at
I don't think
least?
I've played any new games in 2024. I thought Ready or Not's release was in 2024, like early 2024 or summer 2024. No, it was 2023. 2023 was a good year for gaming. I think the only new game I played in 2024 was Black Ops 6 and I fucking hated it.
Black Ops 6, I didn't mind it. It wasn't revolutionary. It kind of, again, is more the same. But for games that came out in 2024 that I think really that I enjoyed a lot, there was Pal Worlds. Pal World I felt was a very unique kind of spin on like the Pokemon formula.
I missed the
And it,
boat on that one.
and it kind of had like the arc mechanics that came out like very beginning of 2024.
Yeah.
And considering how early on it came, I thought that year was gonna be good, but the only other game that came out that year that really caught my eye was another Crab's Treasure,
Oh, I've been playing a couple new ones. Okay. So the three
which
main new ones that I've been playing were Indiana Jones and the Great Circle,
okay,
uh,
yeah.
which I'm playing right now. It kind of snuck in at the end of the year, but it's pretty fun so far. I'm not super far into it, but it's pretty fun so far. Black Ops 6, which was the worst Call of Duty campaign I think I've ever played.
Hmm.
Star Wars Outlaws, which is kind of fucking boring.
Uh-huh.
Helldivers 2 came out this year. I'm gonna play that later tonight, honestly, because I'm like, fuck it.
Helldivers 2 is PC PlayStation, right?
Yes, yes, it is.
I've heard really, really good things about Helldivers.
Yeah, I
Um,
I've heard some bad things. I heard they kind of fuck some shit. But you know, it's whatever. I hear it's still good. They just fucked up a little bit. But yeah, not a whole lot of like good games came out. There was a lot of Chinese studios making slop, a lot of AAA studios making slop. Hades 2 came out this year, by the way.
I think it was only early access. It didn't actually officially get a 1.0 release.
Didn't it? Damn, that's crazy.
No, because like I've been waiting for it to come out, and I did hear that it came out, and I thought it was the full release, but it was just an early access for like I
Yeah.
guess if you got in on it, and people already played it, and people already I think got like a decent amount of like gameplay out of it. I
Hmm.
missed it, and I didn't hear about it, so I don't know.
Yeah. I heard another
Uh,
crab's treasure is
another
probably
Crab's
one of the best one.
Another Crab's Treasure was one that I played. I really, really enjoyed. Power World's one I really, really enjoyed. That game I was telling you about, Get to Work. That's an indie game that probably not a lot of people know, just because it was like made by like a very independent like creator and like a YouTuber collab.
Hmm.
That game surprisingly was very fun. I've seen a lot
I
of
heard All
videos
Well
on.
was really good.
I've heard of that. I'm not entirely sure what it's about. Do you know what that one's about at all?
It's a game. It's a solo dev game, put out by Donkeys, video game Donkeys, publishing studio, and apparently it was very good. It made it to
Oh,
the Game
okay.
Awards. So
I didn't know they came out this year. I seen videos of it, but I didn't realize they came out this year.
yeah, um,
Oh,
her
Balatro. Everybody's been talking
Balatro,
about
yeah.
Balatro. I
Yep.
I've I saw videos of Balatro like really early 2024. It
Mm-hmm.
looked really cool, but I didn't expect it to blow up as much as it
Yeah.
did, which is it's really cool that it did blow up. I was gonna say another game that I've seen a lot of videos about. I'm not sure if you've heard about it. I think it's just it's a PC only game, but it's called. Actually, no, wait. It did release on Xbox. It looks. It's called Slay the Princess.
I heard about that. Is that the sequel to Slay the Spire?
No, it's like a game where you have a whole bunch of choices and you choose a choice and it kind of impacts the story.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a kind of like a choose your own adventure, I guess, right? And like there's so many different scenarios and it's kind of it has a very good story. It's pretty much only a story game because it's just you click through all the options, right?
Oh,
But I
kind of
heard,
like a visual novel.
yeah, but I've heard people say it's like such a good game, and I've seen videos of it, and it looks like such a good game. The narration is really good, like the story is really good. Uh, but that one I don't think was on Xbox.
That was
Oh,
2023.
oh, okay. Well
Mm-hmm.
the new version came out. I guess it says the pristine cut, which is
Yeah.
like I guess the remaster.
I don't know, but like I think it's very telling that if you look at what games people are remastering, right? What are they doing? Well, they're doing Final Fantasy VII, but that's an don't nobody gives a fuck about that. Um, there's Resident Evil 4. When did that come out? Do you know?
That sounds like an old game.
2005.
Yeah.
GameCube era. GameCube PS2 era. The that was then and the fucking Silent Hill 2 they remastered this year. When did that come out? 2001. What did it come out on? PS2. It's fucking, you know,
Did
they're going back to the best era of gaming, right? It's I don't know if it's because nostalgia comes in 20-year waves. So right now, because it's 2025, the nostalgia is 2005, but like we're reliving that era, and it's a fucking really good era. The PS2 was so good, and nothing, like almost nothing that gets made by the AAA nowadays beats what they were doing back then. They've lost the sauce. There were so many fucking great games back in the PS2 era that they just can't replicate now. And
I
it's
think like there is new games coming out that are good. It's just it's a lot less often now, which is the sad part. Because in 2024, really there was only like I would say a handful or less games that really stood out at all.
mm,
And in 2023, it was a little bit better. 2025, it's
2023 was good.
it's
2023 was like
2023 was really good. It started out good. It had I think I'm trying to think of all the games that came out in 2023. I think it was Neon Neon
Neon
Neon
White,
Neon White, what's it called? Hi-Fi
um,
Rush,
Hi-Fi Rush,
Lies of P I think came out that year.
Lies of Penis. Yes, yes, it
I'm
did.
trying to think of what other ones came out
Jedi
that
Survivor was my number one choice.
Jedi Survivor.
BG3, Baldur's Gate 3.
I admit Baldur's Gate 3 probably was it was game of the year. Everybody liked it, but I just could not get into it. I tried. I really did.
It's okay. I beat the original Baldur's Gate 1, and it puts you immediately into the post game DLC, and I still haven't started the post game DLC because I'm like, fuck. The Baldur's Gate 1 was very tedious.
It
Um,
it does feel like a very tedious game, which is why I don't want to get into it.
yeah, it sucks and it's annoying. Uh, Dave the Diver. Dave the Diver was a really good one from
I,
2023.
yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about that. I might have to check it out.
Yeah. But it was
But yeah, like most of this year, I've been trying my best to just go back and play well, I said last year, should I say? I was just going back and I was playing older games, or I would try to like, like how on Game Pass they would like new games every now and then.
Yeah,
I would play like very very small like indie games that happen to catch my eye, but even then, there's not a lot to really
no,
go off of.
there's not. There's not at all, and it sucks. It fucking blows
I
because
know me and my brother, we were playing Remnant 2. I think
mhm,
that came out 2023.
I heard it wasn't as good as the original.
Uh, I liked it a lot actually. I think it to me, I just found it as like kind of more of like the same formula. It's like Remnant 1 was really good. They just kind of gave us more Remnant, which is
Yeah,
honestly that's not a bad. That's it doesn't always need to be like revolutionary. If they just kind of do what everybody already
yeah.
liked.
I don't know. I
It
think
works
that's
for me.
good. I think that's good. Like it's all well and good. That's kind of how Pokemon was doing for a while. Um, but like I don't know. I would like to have something be improved from the last one.
Well,
You
they did.
know?
It did feel like it was Remnant One with a few extra things. I'm not saying that it was 100% like nothing was new or nothing was inventive. There was tons of new guns. There was the new classes they added. Obviously, new bosses, new places, new this, new that.
Yeah, but like
But it wasn't as big of a change as sequels usually do. I
yeah, and
suppose.
I don't know. I like when things are improved upon. I don't want to just be given the same thing over and over again. Like that's good, but
Like
it's losing
imagine
its
like Borderlands 2 to Borderlands pre-sequel. Like they kept the same engine, they kept the same look and feel. They just
pre-sequel is worse though.
no, but I'm just saying like hear me out. Like it's like I'm not talking about like how the like the contents of the game. I'm just talking about like what they changed. You know, 'Cause
Yeah,
if you're looking from 2 to prequel and look at like the actual changes they made, they added a few things. They added like the Oz kit, they added the gravity, they added lasers, they added new classes, new guns, new
yeah,
areas. But did they change any of like the core things? Like it's the same HUD, it's the same engine, it's the same look. You see what I mean?
yeah,
Like Remnant has like I think those level of changes where it's like enough is changed to where you can tell it's different, but it still feels mostly the same. And I don't think that that's necessarily bad because a lot of the content in Remnant, I think, makes up for the lack of changes in it. Versus
yeah,
in the pre-sequel, the content kind of fell flat, so the other changes kind of just pulled it down with it.
yeah. All right, that's fair. That's fair. I
But
think we
Remnant
should.
2, me and I think my brother are planning on playing it more this year because we never came back whenever we got the DLCs. We got the Ultimate Edition and never never played
Yeah,
them.
that's let's go to an ad break and I think we can come back because I have some points that I want to make. I kind of want to shift gears a little bit, but let's uh
Okay.
let's go to the ad break. We'll be right back. This podcast is sponsored by Amanda Redwine, your no-nonsense talk therapist and parent coach. Serving individuals and couples in both Illinois and Florida for counseling/therapy, as well as worldwide for parent coaching. Amanda's specialty is working with teens and young adults, as well as their family systems. Amanda has extensive experience working with youth who identify on the LGBTQIA+ spectrum. She has also done couples work based on a foundation of the Gottman method. She brings a light, no nonsense approach to treatment that is approachable and empathetic. She is unflappable and makes her clients comfortable from the very beginning. Find out more at www.amandaredwine.com. That's AMANDAREDWINE.com. Thank you again for sponsoring this episode, and back to the show. All right, welcome back, everyone. I want to refocus. Danny, you were talking about Hi-Fi Rush, one of your favorites. Uh, one of your favorite games from 2023, correct?
Yes, I would say my peak favorite. I still like, man, if I could just replay that game again, God,
Um,
what a time.
Here's something very unfortunate. Um, Tango, Tango Studios got it was acquired by ZeniMax. ZeniMax bought it in Well, the original person who created Tango was Shinji Mikami. Shinji Mikami created Resident Evil. Like he directed Resident Evil.
Well, yes, that like I have heard a lot of news about Tango and what happened to it. I'm not sure
Well,
if
I
I'm
want I want to
100%
explain it
caught
for the
up on it,
audience. Uh,
right?
uh,
Uh, but yeah, like yeah, you can kind of give us the rundown of what happened, I suppose.
yeah. So story about Tango Studios. Shinji Mikami, creator of Resident Evil, um, fucking awesome game creator. Right. He also created Vanquish. Vanquish is awesome. God Hand. God Hand is awesome. He got screwed over by Capcom because Capcom sucks. And then he was like, "Hey, fuck this! I'm gonna create Platinum Games." And Platinum Games made Vanquish in 2010. And then in 2010, he left that studio and he created his own studio called his own new studio called Tango Gameworks. And they made The Evil Within, which the first one was good. I think I heard Evil Within 2 was not as good. Um, but yeah. So he made a couple of games at Tango. But then Tango sort of not doing too hot, and then they got purchased by ZeniMax. Um, not very long into it. It took them about 6 months, and they were suffering financial issues, and ZeniMax bought them. So 10 months after they were founded, they were bought by ZeniMax. ZeniMax owns Bethesda. They also owned id Software, Arcane Studios, Machine Games, and ZeniMax Online. So,
Hmm.
you know, lot of big fucking talent, right? And then
Hmm.
Microsoft bought them
Hmm.
in 2021, and that meant that they bought Tango. Tango made they made Ghostwire Tokyo, which I heard was very good. Shinji Mikami, he's fucking, he worked on it. I don't know what his like full involvement is because he's not listed as like a producer or a director, but he is, I believe he was like somewhat involved in it, but it was pretty good. And then but like I said, he's not credited. And then Hi-Fi Rush, he was, again, I believe he was involved in it somehow, but I forget how exactly he was because he's not credited on like the big things on Wikipedia. But he founded it. He still worked on it. Uh, but then in 2024, um, well, actually in 2023, Mikami fucking said he was gonna leave again, and then in 2024, after that, they were like, "Hey, you know how Hi-Fi Rush is really amazing, and it's like a really fucking solid game that a lot of people love. Considered to be one of the best games of 2023, if not the best.
Yeah.
We're gonna fucking close it." They closed Arcane Austin as well. Um,
Yeah. Arcane, who made I think Dishonored, right?
I don't know if
Yeah, that's Arcane, right? Or Dishonored?
Arcane, yes. I don't know if it was specifically Arcane Austin that did Dishonored, but yes, Arcane. Uh,
Oh, okay. Wait. So is it only Arcane Austin that got closed, or is it all of Arcane?
yes, it's Arcane Austin. Oh, Arcane Austin
Also,
made
they
Redfall.
made yeah. That's what I was gonna say. Redfall was I think the one that flopped them.
Okay, so Arcane Austin made Redfall, kind of
Yeah.
deserved. But they also made Prey 17, and Prey 2017 was pretty good.
I
So
wonder if they ever actually went back and like delivered on those promises they made
no,
for Redfall.
no,
They might have. I never kept up with it after my first playthrough though.
no. And then ZeniMax Halifax, which is very very fun name, also goes by Alpha Dog. Um, Alpha Dog made like mobile games, and they yeah, they got shut down as well. So
It didn't I don't know if you're gonna get to this, but didn't Tango come back at one point? I thought.
so um they were saying that they were going to close it down, um and then all summer it was closed down, but there's a South Korean publisher called Krafton who bought it, and sadly, less than half of the people who worked on or who worked at um, Tango would still like get their jobs back. But reportedly, everyone else got jobs elsewhere, so that's fine. But I'm glad that 50 of the original 105 were able to come back.
Mhm.
And but yeah, that's so fucking annoying. It's so fucking annoying that Microsoft fucking I don't know. I feel dumb. I feel dumb saying that like when I was a when I heard that Microsoft was going to buy Bethesda and buy Activision Blizzard, I naively thought, hey, maybe they're gonna get their acts right? Because Bethesda was going down the shitter with Fallout 76. Activision has been going down the shitter for fucking decades at this point. Maybe they'll do something. Maybe they'll fix it up. Nope. No, they fucked it. They fucked it even worse, actually.
Well, the thing is,
So,
I don't know how much like involvement Microsoft is having with these specific companies, right? Or whether Microsoft kind of just buys them and like does checks budget and stuff. If it's just budget and stuff, I kind of see why they're making their decisions.
but
But like whenever it comes to like
fucking,
Bethesda and like Blizzard, Activision Blizzard, I think a lot of like the problems with those companies kind of come from those companies more so than Microsoft. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know how much Microsoft plays into that.
I don't know. Cuck Spencer has been making some shitty decisions. You know, he's
Yeah, yeah.
Cuck Spencer kind of sucks. Fuck you, Cuck Spencer.
I like Game
Like,
Pass, but besides that, like it's hard to justify everything.
I mean, they've been raising the price on Game Pass, and a lot
Well,
of.
it's funny you mention that because that I think I told you a long time ago how there is kind of like a method or strategy on how you can get a lot of Game Pass for relatively little if you do it in a certain way, right?
Mhm.
Last time I bought Game Pass was in 2022. I bought 3 years of Xbox Game Pass.
Jesus Christ.
I bulk bought it in 2022, and it is 3 years from now from then.
Yeah, it's finally running out. Shit.
So I was looking into this, and the exploit still exists to an extent, but they did kind of exploit the original the original a little
They
bit.
they patched it a little
They
bit.
pa-
Okay.
they patched it, right? Because before you could get three years. I think now you buy 3 years of the regular subscription, but it only converts to 2 years now instead of the 3 years.
Mhm.
You still save a lot of money if that wasn't patched as well. I have to test it out first.
Yeah. 30 there are 34 million Game Pass subscribers. And honestly, I think, you
It-
know,
I think that it's really, really valuable, especially if you don't buy games,
mhm,
and you're somebody who's active enough to actually get the value out of it. Like, I think that even if you're like a tiny bit active, you only play like 2 games a month
yeah.
out of the whole subscription, that's still probably worth it for the
Yeah,
price.
like right now I'm playing Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. It's still $70 on Steam, but I'm playing it through Microsoft Game Pass and it's fucking, it works. It works. Nothing nothing it doesn't like it's not like
And
that one thing where they streamed the games to you. What the fuck was that?
oh,
Ah,
they had Xbox Cloud, cloud
yeah,
gaming. I think they still do have that. Maybe they're still working on it,
it does still
but
exist, I think.
cloud gaming is far from being where it needs to be. I know
No,
that
it's
I've
based on fucking Stadia, and Stadia also sucked.
no Stadia. I thought was that was Google, wasn't it? Google
Yeah,
Stadia.
yeah, but it's the same thing. It's the same
No,
thing where
no,
they're
no.
streaming the game
Yeah,
to you, and it sucks.
there's plenty of different services that all did the streaming, and streaming makes sense on paper, right? Because if you think about literally every other medium, right? Movies and TV shows, I think, are the prime example of this, where streaming makes sense for those type of things. But for games, they're so highly intensive that
Yeah,
getting cloud to work is far, far in the future if it ever comes.
Yeah, we need to be on 6G for that to work.
Yeah, I think that we're not at the point where cloud gaming works. I think I have used cloud gaming before through the Xbox app on my phone because there are, you know how like they do have like the option, the ability to do that on the phone still. If you
Yeah.
plug in a controller to your phone with Bluetooth, you can play certain games. Now, the amount of games they let you play is cool, but the amount of games that like, realistically work on it, not a lot. Like
No, not
like
really.
for example, if they let you play Celeste on the phone, that's cool, but I would not play
Yes.
Celeste like that because Celeste is not gonna work.
And you need like really good controls. Like Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice was the first game that had full touch controls, right? And
Well,
I
I'm saying
can't
like
imagine that.
I'm saying not mobile controls. I'm saying like let's say you have a controller hooked up to your phone, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm talking about just the cloud part of it, like just the inconsistent kind of like delay cloud part of it. Games like Celeste don't work.
Mhm.
But like games like Slay the Spire, as much as I hate turn based is like pretty much the best genre if you
Yeah,
want to
that
play
would be
cloud.
perfect. Like if you were streaming like a fucking Pokemon game or like a JRPG, like one of the original Final Fantasies or fucking Chrono Trigger or something like that, that'd be perfect. But like anything where you have to in in a prompt amount of time react and not you know like you're basically playing it like in the future. You're predicting what needs to happen, and that's fucking yeah. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. So I think cloud works sometimes. It depends on the game. It depends on it definitely depends on the game.
Yeah.
I'd like to see it maybe one day get to the level that like Netflix has gotten with movies and like all the streaming
Hmm.
services have gotten to where like I click on a movie, it loads, it's perfect. But games are just are another level of like resource intensive.
Yeah, but like think about it like this. We can talk shit about Cuck Spencer making Xbox fucking terrible, all we want, but at the end of the day, they own, uh, you know, Forza, pretty decent, pretty decent size game for casuals. Call of Duty, very great, like super well selling casual game. Um, you know, they own uh Overwatch. People are still playing Overwatch for some reason.
I
Um,
I will say whenever it comes to like casual games, quote unquote, right? Like Call of Duty, Fortnite, Overwatch, games
mhm.
like that. I don't know about you, but I kind of at a point where I'm like, I don't really care enough to play these games to the point where I'm going to get good at them. I'm like, I'll play them and I'll have fun, but it's just such a time commitment to get good at any game nowadays.
That is true. They're very complicated. It's not like, you
And
know,
I've heard people talk about this before, where that's why I think it's really hard for people to transition to new games and why a lot of new games don't do as well is because there's so much competition for time and the
mhm.
amount of time that it takes to get good at a game. It is very intimidating and very daunting, and people are like, oh, "Okay, I'm already good at Fortnite. Already good at Call of Duty. Why am I going to download the new game?" You know,
Yeah. I will
and
say,
that's kind of where I'm at with a lot of games too, because Marvel Rivals. You've heard of Marvel Rivals, right?
yeah. And it's like
Like,
the Overwatch killer. It seems to be like the Overwatch killer. I'm not sure if it
people
will.
say that, but in my mind, before Marvel Rivals was announced, before well, as soon as it came out, as soon as it was announced, before it even came out, I knew for a fact that I was not going to play it to the extent that I play Overwatch because I don't want to start over. I don't
That's
got the
true.
time to start over again. I was in high school when Overwatch came out.
Uh-huh.
I
You already
already
know
put the
all the
hours
characters.
in to like learn the game. I know the characters. I'm
Mhm.
gotten to a point where I can comfortably play it at a level that I feel happy with. Maybe I'm not as good as I used to be, but I can say that I'm good enough to where like I'm happy, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like a lot of games nowadays, like Fortnite, Apex Legends, this that, I play them and I am actively bad.
Yeah.
or below average.
Uh-huh.
And as much as I would love to be good at those games, I don't want to put the time in to be good at those games. And I
Yeah.
just don't have the time to do everything. So I'm like, you know
Also,
what? Even if I don't like Overwatch, Overwatch is what I'm good at. And that's what I will keep playing. And that's why it's so hard to just transition. It's just there's not enough time, especially I think with you and me trying to do a lot of other things as well.
that's true. I would also like to point out that Microsoft does own both Minecraft and World of Warcraft, which are two of the most lucrative games ever. So, like, they're
I'm
rolling in money. It doesn't matter how bad they are. World of Warcraft, Candy Crush, Call of Duty, Minecraft. They own all of them. So it doesn't matter if they're making good exclusives. It doesn't matter if they're making fucking. They don't even have to make fucking games anymore because Minecraft. Minecraft
I
prints money.
well see, this is why I think I like especially I think that AAA games are not the way to go anymore. I think it's really indie games that are the way to
No,
go because indie
you're.
games are they have a lot more of a personal touch. People are a lot more there for I think the art of creating games. And because indie games usually are small teams or single developers, it's a lot
Mm-hmm.
less risk to try new things. Versus Nintendo, Nintendo almost will never try anything new because it's just too much of a risk for them. They
Yeah,
already
I'm
have
gonna
a
keep it
brand
real with you.
image and all that, and they just cannot risk anything.
Yeah, I mean, but let's talk about this, right? I think Cuck Spencer, um, people always said, "Oh, he was always playing games at work." He was playing Ultima Online in the office. Blah 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 blah. No, I don't think Cuck Spencer plays video games. I'm gonna be honest with you. I've
I
never seen
think
him
that
play a video game.
I think he does play games. I don't know if his account is public. His Xbox account is public, but
Mm-hmm.
I do think that he does play video games. He obviously does not. He's not like a, I would say, a hardcore gamer,
Yeah, and
but
so
he definitely does play video games though.
Steve fucking Jobs played video games. Steve fucking Jobs was a fucking nerd, right?
Did you hear what's called Elon Musk is a grinder in Diablo?
Yeah, I'm sure. I heard he plays fucking Diablo Immortal, I think.
No, Diablo 4 I think was the
Yeah,
one.
that sounds about right.
I
Elon
heard
Musk is
that
such a cuck.
I heard that he just grinds and grinds and grinds. I heard he's like one of the top players in Diablo 4,
That sounds about
which is
right.
which is it's wild to think about. I think that it's almost more of a problem if you're that deep into games. There has to be a balance. There has to
I
be, especially because he's not even involved in games as his job. He's just
No, and he's also probably not very good at it.
no, he's one of the top Diablo 4 gamers. I think he just grinds and grinds and grinds.
I mean, it's either that or he pays people to grind for him and it makes him look better.
No, I don't even think that's it. I think he just is a grinder.
No,
Because he's constantly. I think I
it's
can't.
either
Again,
that
I don't follow
or
him, but from what I hear, he posts about it a lot, and he's always online playing or something, right?
mhm. It's
I yeah.
well that's it's either that or the other theory is uh his companies for the longest time, Tesla, SpaceX, um they gave him a sort of a Quango job, right? Where it's sort of they have him in this position where they give him a bunch of like people, right? Who like he can be like boss him around, tell them, "Oh, I want to do this, I want to do this," right? And their job is to like keep him entertained and tell him like something is boring, right? Just be like, "Hey, this is really boring. You won't be really interested in it. You don't want to do this. You don't want to focus on this, right?" And or like he'll be like, "I want to do something stupid," right? Because he's a fucking moron. And
I
uh
think that he was. I don't know if he was always a moron, or maybe
he has been.
at maybe he's lucky. I can't. I don't think he's a complete moron. I don't think
The money
anybody
he the
that
only money that
gets
he has
to
ever
that
gotten.
level is a complete moron. There has to be like some sort of point where it kind of goes downhill. I think that for Elon Musk, to my knowledge, nobody really started hating him as much as when Tesla went down and he bought Twitter. And then ever since then, it's just he's been creating a bigger and bigger and bigger fool of himself.
No, so when he bought Twitter, the people that I was describing who like sort of keep him away from the essential like functions of the business and just
Mhm.
sort of like appease him all day, um, that didn't happen with Twitter. And SpaceX had that, Tesla had that, and then those teams sort of went away. I think maybe he caught wise to it, or maybe I don't know what happened. But with the Cybertruck, the teams went away. That was a 100% Elon type deal, and you can tell because it's fucking retarded. Is a
Ye-
terrible design by a
Well,
fucking idiot.
here's here's my defense of the Cybertruck, right? I do think there is I like a market, or there is a interest maybe from consumers for something that's different. I think that the Cybertruck may have been a little too different.
It's not different. It's worse. It's everything but worse. There are already electric pickups. You don't need a fucking. It's a pickup that doesn't have a big bed, right? Your Tacoma has a bigger bed than the Cybertruck. Fucking 72 Ford Ranchero is a bigger bed than the Cybertruck. Fucking my Honda Civic, if I put the seats down, has more trunk space than the Honda Civic's fucking pickup bed.
But
It's
think about it
pathetic.
this way, right? The people that bought the Cybertruck, I think, bought it because of how different and how unique it looked, more so than for the utility aspects of it, like
No,
the
they're not
practical
buying it
things of it.
because it looks good. So
No, not
here's
that it
why they're
looks
buying it.
good. It looks different. I'm not saying it looks
No,
good.
they're buying it because they like Elon Musk. The only people
That
who are buying a
that
Cybertruck are
as
buying it
well.
because they're Elon Musk fans.
I
And
think that there's like levels to it, right? Once you get, I think, a certain amount of money, or maybe you don't care about money, you start buying things just to buy things, and I feel like the Cybertruck was a perfect thing for those people, because those people are like, okay, I want to buy something. This looks different than another car, right? It's unique. It's a stupid design, right? But they're like, I have money. I don't care.
no, the way you can tell that they're buying it because they're fans of Elon is because every time, some shit happens and like the truck fails miserably, the trunk thing will cut off your fingers. You can slice yourself on the doors because they're all fucking sharp and angular. When it breaks down in any degree of water, oh my god, the litany of fucking problems with Cybertrucks is fucking ridiculous.
I
Oh
do
my
think
god.
that for me, if I had an unlimited amount of money, I probably wouldn't buy a Cybertruck, but I get the appeal of wanting a car. Like I said, that's a little bit more angular, because I feel like I'm thinking about it like from like a video game perspective, right? The cooler cars in the games usually are the ones that look a lot more unique.
Uh but it looks if you want
and
something
and
unique,
and I think
buy a
that
Rivian.
a lot of cars, like a lot of cars, do have like unique features to them, but not enough of a difference.
Also, the reason why most cars, SUVs, sedans,
I
whatever, pickup
know there's a
trucks,
reason they look that way, of
the
course.
reason why they look that way is because it works, and the reason why the Cybertruck looks that way is because Elon's a fucking idiot, and
But
it doesn't work.
imagine, okay, imagine with me. You play GTA, right?
Yes,
You know that car in GTA that is like the Batmobile equivalent, right?
the Vidge. Yep.
Yeah, you know how it's a very angular kind of car?
Yeah.
Like, I think the angular design can look good. I think in the Cybertruck's case, it didn't.
Well, the reason why it's angular, so the reason why the Vigilante looks like that is because the Vigilante is a combination of the Batmobile from the 1989 film and the Batmobile from The Dark Knight and Batman Begins, right? It is meant to be both. So the reason why the spoiler looks like that is because the one from Batman Begins looks like that. So it's you know it's meant to look like a combination of those two. So it's not the angularness. The one from the '80s is a lot more curvy. I don't know. You've been to Six Flags, right? They usually
Yes.
have outside of the Batman ride. They usually have like one of the Batmobiles, right? One of the like
I might
models
need to
of them.
go back to Six Flags. It's been so many.
Yeah, it's been a while for me too.
But what's it called?
But
Like, I think that the market could use more angular car options for people that want it.
but angles are
Uh,
bad. They're bad.
I'm
They're
not
not good
saying
for aerodynamics. They're not good for survivability. You want something that's curved. It's like sloped armor, right? Um
can I tell you here's the problem with my opinion on this is that I know for a fact I would never buy anything angular. I just want to see it. You know what I mean?
it it's like sloped armor. The reason why you don't want something that is like a flat face, right, is that something very easily will like penetrate it, right? Um but like if something is sloped, it has more surface area to go through. So if something is like curved, it's gonna have more surface area to sort of like travel through in order to like get through the thing, right? And then you also have to make sure that it's that the cars crumple, right? Crumpling cars is a good thing, and Elon Musk is a fucking idiot who knows nothing about physics and he doesn't understand that. Cars crumple because you don't want the person to crumple. You want to redirect the energy away from the occupants. But if the Cybertruck gets hit by a fucking semi truck, it's fucked, right? Because
I
all maybe the stainless steel fucking outside, which by the way is a problem in and of itself. Try keeping that fucking thing clean and fingerprint free. Jesus fucking Christ. But if you get hit with a fucking semi truck, maybe the Cybertruck's fine. Maybe the frame of the fucking Cybertruck's fine, but you have been liquefied. They are going to have to like clean you up with a carpet cleaner. Your remains on the inside of that fucking Cybertruck. It's it's so dumb. And then Tesla's already been kind of going downhill with the stupid like updates and like the amount of like software heavy bullshit. So there's a lot
oh
of glitches and shit
I
like that.
that is one thing I do like. It's 50-50. I
Mm-hmm.
think that once cars become too much software, it does become, I think, a big problem because software has so many things that can go wrong.
Yeah, I mean, we can. I mean, do we want to make the rest of this episode about fucking cars? Because we can talk about fucking cars. I've got a
I
lot of points I want to make about cars.
Well, here's my whole thing about cars. For me, I'm not a car person. Maybe
We
you
know,
are.
we know.
Maybe you are a car person to an extent, right?
Uh,
I like a good looking car. And realistically, if I had the money to get a really good looking car, I probably still wouldn't.
I think the Toyota Tacoma is a good fucking looking car, man.
No, I do too. I love the Tacoma. I also like that it's like built within that era where it was still like it feels like it's very well built, more so than I think some of the newer cars are. Because I think the newer cars kind of they go down in quality in some aspects, right? Especially
Yeah,
again with the software stuff I was telling you about.
yeah.
I'm not as big of a fan of that. Like for me, I don't need a huge screen in my car. I can understand the appeal of a huge screen in your car.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong. But for me, I just got the radio, and that's cool with me. I love my little radio. I love it being
Mm-hmm.
very simple.
Yeah,
That's
that's basically how mine works. Um, I think so. What we've been seeing, right, is that there are a lot of traffic incidents, collisions, fatalities. And there's a variety of explanations for this. One is that cops are not pulling people over for speeding anymore because in the aftermath of the fucking Ferguson report, they're like, "Fuck it," you know. If if something goes bad in the traffic stop and we just get like shat on in the press for fucking days and days and days and days, right? It's not worth the risk to stop somebody who's going 80 and a 70, right? Like it doesn't even fucking matter. So,
I I will say you like it's funny you mentioned this because A member of my family. I won't say which member. in,
Mm-hmm.
in the off chance that you
And
know who
that
this
they're
is or somebody
listening.
else, or yeah, they're listening. They'll know exactly who they are if they listen. But
Mm-hmm.
somebody in my family around Thanksgiving time, I think it was actually on Thanksgiving, like day or the day before, got caught speeding very, very fast. Uh, and they had to spend Thanksgiving, I think, either in jail
That is
or the
pretty
day
funny.
after Thanksgiving in jail. But it was I will say it was much worse than an 80 and a 70. It was much worse.
Yeah. And that's what it has to be, right? So back in the day, growing up, the rule of thumb was you go five over and you're fine. You go any more than five over, you're not doing too good. Um,
I think it depends. Like the tough thing about driving and speeding is that it really depends on the environment you're in, the cars
mm-hmm,
around you, the time
mm-hmm,
of day.
mm-hmm.
Because I personally, I think that speed limits
Oh, it depends
shouldn't.
on the cop too. It depends on the cop too. You gotta underestimate. They
I
got
think
quotas
a
too.
lot of people see speed limits as kind of a suggestion, and I think they really should be a suggestion. Again, it's very situational though, because whenever you make something a suggestion, people take advantage of it. You know what I mean?
I mean, I see the need for speed limits. I think everybody sees the need for speed limits, but we all fucking speed, right? And it's getting a lot of people killed. But a lot of the problems are
It's
big,
it's
tall SUVs for no reason. Cops
it,
aren't enforcing traffic laws, and the touch screens. The touch screens are the biggest fucking problem in modern car design because you have to look away from the road to operate them. And it is
you
a
know
fucking bad idea.
I I have thought about that as well because that's the biggest problem with touchscreens is that you can't feel like how you
And
can with
also that, yeah,
regular
yeah, yeah.
controls. Because like I can feel my way to like the volume, I can feel my way to the air, you know.
Yeah,
But
mine
with a touch
too.
screen, you don't got any. It's just a flat screen, you know. If you're looking
Yes.
at the road, you can't as easily. That's why I don't like touch screens. There's a lot of reasons not to like touch screens. I also just don't like how aesthetically they look all the time.
Yeah, you got to keep that fucking clean. You got to keep the fucking fingerprints off that too. I'll say my stepmom has a Beamer, right? A new Beamer, and the way you operate that is a fucking wheel, right? It's like a wheel, and you press down to click it, right? Um, but like even that kind of fucking sucks because you're not getting any haptic feedback. You're just getting like you still have to look at it to see what you're selecting, right? So it's still not a perfect solution. The perfect solution has already passed us by. It was buttons and a
Buttons, of
non-touch
course.
screen. Yeah. It's like a small non-touch screen, but like navigation in the car is kind of fucked. But also, like we need our phones to navigate, right? We need some kind of navigation. GPS is a fact of our fucking life now.
I
It's
think that like the ideal solution is one that I've done a lot, and it's not a giant touchscreen. It's just get a phone holder.
Yeah, but then you have to like touch your phone to get that going. Like I have a phone holder on
Well,
mine.
but
I
but that's
navigate with
the
that.
but that's the thing, right? If you're using the GPS right, you put in a location, you click start,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't got to do much button pressing after that, right? At most, what I do whenever I'm driving is I will have my music playing, and the way that the Maps app works is that it automatically will create like a little box at the very bottom for the music, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a little button I can click to skip the song, and that's literally the only button I'll ever press while driving, right? Because I don't text, I don't do anything that's too complex while driving because
Yeah.
I'm a little bit more cautious. I do know some members, uh, well, I'm not gonna say members of my family, but I know some people that I
Mm-hmm.
know, right, that are a little bit more confident or brazen, I suppose, whenever it comes to things like that. And they'll like type out the name of a song, or they'll do this or do that, and they'll hold their phone in their hand.
Yeah.
I could never do that. I'm very, very cautious. I sometimes I can type out things while my phone's on the phone holder because then my eyes are at least not too far below where they need to be, right? because
Mhm.
my phone holder is like right below, I think, or right on like the bottom view of like my windshield. But
Mhm.
if you have it in your hand, you're looking a lot farther down
Oh
than
yeah, yeah. But
you need.
that's the touch screen. That's the touch screen. The touch screen is way further down than from the thing. If the phone holder, it obstructs a little bit of your view. I'm not gonna lie, but you're still looking at the road. It's still in your periphery. You know.
Exactly, right? And that's why I feel like let's say I click the skip button on my phone, I don't feel like I'm in danger because I'm still looking at the road to an extent, right? My peripheral, whatnot, whatnot. And that's why, like, whenever I see people like that I'm driving with that will do that, they've never had any problems with it, of course. Either otherwise, that would be um, but I just feel like there's a lot more that can go wrong with that, and I personally wouldn't. I don't tell people how to drive, but I personally wouldn't.
Yeah. So, an interesting solution that I've seen to this is the on-screen, semi-translucent heads-up display that like goes on the windshield.
Oh, I have I do not like that idea for a lot of reasons.
But
That feels so much more obstructing than a screen or a phone because your vision can so easily focus away from the road that way.
you can see through it. So you can see
Yes,
through it. So you can see their shapes.
I understand you can see through it. I just feel like for me, just thinking about that, it feels maybe like that's not a good solution. I wouldn't trust that. Personally, I feel like it's very easy to get distracted that way. I don't know
Um,
about that one.
I
Cuz
don't know.
it kind of reminds me of like the do you remember a couple years ago the Google Glasses?
Yes,
Like that sort of thing, it seems cool in theory. I just don't know in a car or in glasses how well that is really pulled off. And the Google
it's going to be
Glass,
a lot better than the focusing on the small thing of your phone and focusing on the touch screen. That's all I'm going to say. Is that's probably the best solution that still expands what you can do and still has navigation and stuff like that. I feel like that's the
I
best one.
I think that buttons are the best. I think what I've noticed cuz I've driven a couple of different cars, right? I've driven my brother's car, my car, friends' cars in the off scenarios, right? Whatever, whatever.
Mhm.
And what I've noticed that works for me the most, obviously the phone on a phone holder works great. I've also done it to where I've had my phone in my hand, but my hand is on the steering wheel. So
Still not a great fucking idea.
my phone is at the top of the steering wheel, pretty much eye level, about where it would be on the phone holder, right? And I only glance at it every now and then just to check directions. I don't use it for anything except for directions, right? It's just to make sure that my phone isn't too low,
That's true.
right?
All right.
And then
I feel like we
the
should continue
buttons
this
on.
conversation though. I feel like we're getting a little too long. We should continue this
Well,
conversation.
let me just finish this last bit, right? I
Uh-huh.
was gonna say the last thing again is buttons,
Yes.
especially buttons on the steering wheel. I feel like are really really cool if you have steering wheels that have a steering wheel that has like the volume button on it or like a
Mhm.
radio button on it, and you can like adjust by feel.
Yes.
I've only been in a couple cars that have had that. Mine unfortunately does not because I have an older steering wheel.
Yeah, you have like a 2003.
It's 2009, 2009. But like again, I think the best option has always been buttons. The only problem is there's no GPS on a lot of those cars.
Yeah, so the way I'll say I'll explain how my car works and I'll bring up some good and bad points, but then we need to fucking end it because it's almost 11:30 at night. I need to do
Yeah,
my Duolingo. Fucking it's getting there. So
yeah.
the way my car works is I have a screen. It's not a touch screen. It has the radio preset buttons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1 and 2. So it connects to Bluetooth and it connects like through normal USB into it used to work for Lightning on my old phone. I don't know if they make a normal USB into USB-C connector. I don't have one, so I just connect through Bluetooth and I charge my phone on the phone charger, which is connected to the car, and it like charges it like with the magnets and shit like that.
Hmm.
Um, so I have that, and my steering wheel has obviously cruise control on the right side. Those buttons, there's like a D-pad and a button in the center for cruise control on the right side, and then on the left side, I have volume up, volume down. Left and right on the D-pad are fast forward and skip, and then in the middle is change source. And then there's also voice command. I've never gotten the thing to work super well with voice command. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But like, yeah. And then I think there's another button in there too that I think ends the call. It's like an end call button.
Yeah.
But I have Honda Hands Free Link. I have a 2017, and I feel like that's probably the best way to do it. I drove my mom's car up to South Carolina from Florida because I flew down there over Christmas, and I drove it up there and back down again. And I will say, adaptive cruise control is very good. Lane assist, very good. It's almost self driving, like it monitors your speed. It you tell it how many car lengths you want. You tell it to keep you within the lane. It does a lot for you. It takes away a lot of the skill, but like if you're not on the highway, that big touchscreen is a big liability. But here we
Mhm.
go. Let's do it. All right. Big
Yeah.
red button. Are you ready for this?
Yeah. Yeah.
You get a company car for working on the show, but it's a Cybertruck.
Free car, man. I get to keep my car. I don't see what's the problem.
All right, fine. All right. Sorry. You have to trade in your car for a Cybertruck, but you get it for free.
I do I do want an electric vehicle one day because I do feel like electric vehicles are the future. I just don't think that electric vehicles are far enough along to where
Yeah.
I would make the transition. But
So
maybe
what
one
I
day.
so what I'll say is the infrastructure is definitely not there,
Yeah.
and the ability to charge it quickly is not there. Um,
Well, I'm not sure how battery life is doing. I know battery life was a big thing for a long time. Maybe it's a little bit better now, but I think
it
it still can get a lot better. I do know that from what I've been hearing is China has been doing a lot of things to work on electric
mhm,
vehicle manufacturing and technology.
they have.
Um, so they're probably a little bit further ahead on that sort of stuff. But I think one day in the future, if electric vehicles get to a certain point, I will try it. I just think that I don't want to be one of the people that kind of like gets on too early, And I
I
feel
mean,
like I, I think it's still too early, personally.
my stepmom's Beamer is electric. It's a big electric SUV. I've never driven it before, but I've ridden in it. It's quiet. It's quiet, smooth riding, but it's doesn't have the range. It doesn't have the range, especially when it's a big SUV like that. Um, like I was saying earlier, if you want something unique, buy a Rivian. I'm a Rivian stockholder. Full disclosure. And they look really unique, but they're I'll say there's both a truck and an SUV, and neither one of those are really well built for being an electric vehicle. The best electric vehicle is a fucking sedan or a coupe, right? Or something real small, and those, nice and light, they can really, go last a long time. But like at the end of the day, my mom's hybrid CRV and my Civic in eco mode on the highway can both go like almost 450 miles before we're empty. You know, no electric vehicle is even getting like half of that, and so
Yeah.
they're not there yet. We need advancements in batteries, we need advancements in charging, and we need advancements in putting the chargers places, right? Because like
Yeah,
um
that's the other thing I was going to bring up is that I've heard electric vehicle owners struggle so much to even find places to charge their vehicle,
if you
which I
live
feel
in
like
a
is a
city,
very
you know
big problem. Like I know that some places are better than others, but still
mhm,
like if you're traveling somewhere a little bit, out of the way,
mhm,
you have to plan for that so
yes,
far in advance cuz
and
like there won't be an electric charger for like 26 miles,
yep,
which is almost anywhere you go, there's at least one or two gas stations within 26 miles. Like I
Oh, yes.
you're
Yes,
never going to have that
100%.
problem with gas vehicles. So it's definitely there's definitely a lot of things where it's not there yet. But going back to your question, I that's that's probably part of the reason why I'm going to say no.
Yeah, I feel
If
like
it was a free car, I wouldn't mind trying it, to be honest with you. I'm down to try a Cybertruck. I just I'm not confident enough to make the full switch.
I don't even think I could get to like I don't I think I would have to go from where I live to like one of the major cities. I'd probably have to go to like Peoria or something to get
Oh
a
yeah,
charge.
especially where you are, it's gonna be even
Oh
worse.
yeah. The if it's sort of like what my stepmom does and you only take it to like the big cities, you've got a couple Bucky's. Bucky's always has an electric charging station. Always. And
Yeah.
that's good. If you live by Bucky's, you know you're good.
Well, I know that some people who have electric chargers, they install it into their own
We have one in our house. Yep,
house.
in our
Yeah, their
garage.
own
Yep.
house, which that works to an extent. I don't know how that affects the electric bill. Maybe that's not that big of a deal, but I feel like it definitely has some impact, right?
Yeah, it does. But it's like, you know, but like if you live in the city, right? Houston's probably good, Chicago's probably good. California has a shit ton, you know, Palm Springs, where my grandma was and where my parents were staying while she was, you know, passing away. Um Palm Springs has a fuck ton of them.
I
Uh
I do wonder whenever it comes to electric vehicles, like the different solutions there can be for it, because I've seen a lot of different ideas besides the whole charging
yeah.
thing, where maybe
California
like
does it really well. I'll say what California's solution is California's really sunny, especially SoCal.
yeah.
Um uh they do these covered parking lots, right? Covered parking lots. All the roofs have solar cells. You plug in your thing. It is at least partially charged by solar. I think there's, you know, I don't think the sun, even in Southern California, is that strong. But you know, it's the power plants and the wind power and all that bullshit. Plus the solar charges your car while you know you go in, you go to the mall, you leave it there, and it like charges it while you're there, right? Or at my school they have them in the parking lots, but like I like the solar charging, and because they're all covered, the sun's not beating down on your fucking black leather seats in 120 degrees in the summer, so you don't fucking die instantly whenever you get into your car, and I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I do need to get some covers for my car for that reason during the summer, but
Yeah.
that's a problem for later. But what I was gonna say is I've heard that again, this is another like China thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
That they were experimenting with the idea that you will go to a place to like quote unquote get like a charge on your car,
Mm-hmm.
but what they'll do is they'll take out your battery, give you a new battery that's like
Oh,
charged, and it's like and then you're just able to go. It's like really quick, obviously, because you just
yes,
get a whole new
yes.
battery. Now that I don't know how well that idea has been fully fleshed out, but I
There's
thought it was
so many
very
kinks in that idea.
yeah, exactly. That seems like it seems like a good idea, but there's still a lot of things about that idea I feel like haven't really been fully thought out yet. It's cool though because it does solve the problem of like how long it takes to charge.
Let me give you a
Ah,
yeah, let me give you my top 3 concerns with that. Number 1, that would be certainly infeasible without a command economy and like a planned economy where you know the government is involved in all of the corporations and can mandate all the car manufacturers
well,
to
that's
use.
China, so
Yeah, yeah. So it works well in China, wouldn't work here. And then number 2, um, having the ease of access to batteries might make them might lead to mechanical malfunctions if the batteries are meant to be slotted in and out very quickly. I feel like that would lead to some mechanical issues. And then C, um, having lithium ion batteries for the public are like pretty easily accessed, as easily accessed as a fucking gas pump would be not great.
well,
So,
like that was kind of like my other kind of alternative idea was like if there was a certain way where you could like pre-charge a battery and like it's kind of like taking like a tank of gas or
mhm,
like a little container of gas with you places, right?
yeah,
You
but
just
those
keep a battery in your trunk let's say assume that you're not going to just leave it in the sun or whatever, like something stupid like that, right? And you can just change it on the fly, that sort of thing.
I think you might be
Again,
misunderstanding how big those fucking batteries are.
well, I don't quite understand the science behind it. It's just kind of like and like a thought or an idea of different ways they can kind of
Mhm.
change, maybe like fix the charging problem by going in a slightly different direction, you know? Instead of fixing the charging, maybe they switch out the battery, or they do something to that extent.
Yeah,
China's a lot farther ahead when it comes to kind of experimenting on these things, so they'll probably be pushing forward that sort of stuff.
yeah, but they don't have
Uh,
Alaska. They don't have an entire fucking state that is just filled with fucking gasoline or oil, technically. But you know what I mean.
I
Yeah,
think that China though has always been trying to push forward on like the other forms of energy, like electric vehicles, solar. China's a lot more invested in trying to get that up and running, because I think that there's definitely an advantage to
because
being
we
the first
sanction them
ones.
on gas, and then they'd have to get it from Russia, and they don't like Russia that much. They just like Russia because we don't like them. So, But yeah. Anywho, I think this is a conversation we need to revisit uh when it's time for the Chicago Auto Show. I'm gonna try and go to that. I don't know. I don't want to make any promises or anything like that, but I'm gonna try and go at least one day and report back, see what's going on there, talk to people, do some interviews and shit like that.
Yeah, I have to probably do some more research about cars eventually, because
Yes,
I have very surface level knowledge, but
but
we'll figure that out later.
anyway, I think this is a good place to end it. Thank you all very much for listening. If you want to join our Patreon and support us, get a cool shout out, listen to part one of all these episodes, join our $3 tier. If you want to get an even cooler shout out, listen to the whole episode early and ad free, and get access to all of our movie commentaries. Join our $5 tier, the influential and successful tier. They're really awesome. You don't have to wait until Tuesday to listen to the whole episode, and you get to skip the ad, or we skip the ad break for you because it's not even in there. It's awesome. Um, it's great. So definitely try it. There's a 7-day free trial on the $5 tier. You can try it. You can be like, hey, you might like these episodes a lot better when there's not any ads in the middle. You might like it. So yeah, definitely go check that out. Um, if you want to follow us on social media, we are at IIHS Podcast on Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, YouTube. Those are the best places to get general updates. Give us some topic suggestions, Q&A, that sort of thing. Definitely, we try and get them out on YouTube. All these episodes out on YouTube the same day. It just depends. Sometimes RSS screws up. Sometimes we screw up. It's I think we'll be able to today on Tuesday. It because we kept it under 2 hours. So yeah, definitely. If that's where you like your podcasts, we try and have it up the same day. But anywho, we are at IIHS Podcast on YouTube, or just Google us, search us in the YouTube bar. You'll find us. Anyways, my name is Kale. I've been incredibly influential.
And my name is Danny, and I've been highly successful.
We'll talk to you guys next week. Welcome to 2025.